I went to a Brazilian shopping mall, and I was shocked how different it is to the shopping malls I'm used to in Sweden. Now, the one I went to is called Shopping Iguatemi in Porto Alegre, and it's one of the large shopping malls here in the south of Brazil. And one of the first things I saw, which is very different to the shopping malls in Europe, is the amount of security the shopping malls have. So as you can see here at the entrance of the shopping mall, you've got a security guard on the left, and there's usually a security guard at every entrance to the shopping mall. But I think most of them don't carry a firearm, so this one here just carries a baton. So I'm not sure actually how much help they would be if some armed robbers stormed the shopping mall. And then as you enter the shopping mall, there's an information desk with some employees sitting there. And again, you wouldn't have that in Sweden, that's for sure. You probably just have a screen or something in the shopping mall where you could click and get some information on there. There's absolutely no way you'd have some employees sitting at an information desk. And then as you go further into the shopping mall, there are more security guards standing around. And then also you've got these men and women standing around in suits as well with walkie-talkies. And I'm not sure if they're security as well, but I see quite a few of those as well around the shopping mall. And then you've got even more employees walking around. So you've got these people walking around in kind of brown uniforms. Now I'm not sure if these are first aid or fire safety. But yeah, the shopping mall employees, lots of employees. And in Sweden it's totally different. I think you'd be lucky just to see one employee walking around. And yeah, you definitely wouldn't see any security guards stationed around the shopping mall. The other thing that shocked me was how busy the shopping mall is. Now I went on a Saturday, which is probably one of the busiest days, and as you can see there's lots of customers in the shopping mall. And if you go to the food court where the restaurants are, here it's exploding with people. I don't think there's a single table free here. And at some of the restaurants here you can see there are queues to get a table. And I think one of the reasons why the shopping mall is so busy, especially the food court, is that quite a few Brazilians, I think they go to the shopping mall just to eat lunch and dinner. And that's definitely something I would not do in Sweden. I mean, I would go to a restaurant on the high street or somewhere else. I mean, I wouldn't go to the shopping mall just to eat some food. And also, I think a lot of Brazilians go to the shopping mall with their family just to walk around a bit in the shopping mall. So they don't really plan to buy anything. They just drive there to walk around a bit, maybe buy an ice cream or something. And again, as a Swedish person, I found that funny because if you want to go for a walk in Sweden, you know, you go to the park or the forest or something. I mean, yeah, as a Swedish person, it would never cross my mind to want to go to the shopping mall with the family just to walk around a bit. No, you go to the shopping mall if you need to buy something. But I understand why you would do it in Brazil, because it can be so hot outside. So it's better to go to a shopping mall, which has got air conditioning, so it's nice and cool. Also, I think the shopping malls in general are bigger in Brazil than in Sweden. And also you've got the security thing that in the shopping malls with all the security, you feel safer than, you know, just walking around on the streets or in the park. And also another thing is that there aren't that many vacant store units in the shopping mall here in Brazil, which is very different to the shopping malls in Sweden, where you see a lot of stores which have closed down and no new stores opening up, so the shopping malls have lots of vacant store units. One of the main reasons for that is the fact that people just do so much shopping online now, so the physical stores have seen their sales decline a lot. But it seems like Brazilians still like to do a lot of their shoppings in physical stores rather than buying online. But I guess this trend is slowly changing as well in Brazil. And then another difference that surprised me a lot is the amount of cafes and ice cream shops there are in Brazilian shopping malls. Now I know Brazilians love their cafezinho and their little small coffee. And yeah, every corner you turn in the shopping mall there's another cafe, and there's always people drinking cafezinhos there. One of the cafes I really like is Havana, which is a chain from Argentina. Here they sell some really nice alfajores, which are some sweets, and some really good coffee. And then another very popular cafe is called Casa do Pão de Queijo. And I've seen this chain everywhere in Brazil. And here you can order a coffee and then also some cheese bread, which are these bread balls made out of tapioca flour and cheese. And they're really good. And then obviously you can order lots of other things. And it's really easy to find this cafe because you just need to follow the smell of cheese in the shopping mall. And then you have lots of ice cream shops as well. And people love to buy some ice cream and then walk around the shopping mall doing a bit of window shopping. And my daughter loves this place here, which is called Milky Moo. And they sell milkshakes and ice cream, and they're very nice. And yeah, in Swedish shopping malls, there's no way you'd have so many cafes and ice cream shops. And you'd probably have like one or two in each shopping mall rather than like 10 or 15. And then another thing that's very different is all the other types of services that you can find in the shopping mall. So if you walk down this corridor here in Iguatemi Shopping, it's a bit of a separate area. And here you've got costureiras, which are tailors or seamstress. So people take their clothes here and ask them to modify them. But you've got other stores as well. So there's one selling hearing aids, there's laser hair removal, and then a hairdresser. I mean, yeah, hairdresser you would see in a Swedish shopping mall sometimes. But then you've got a nail salon, and that's definitely not common in Swedish shopping malls. I think Swedish women kind of do their own nails, I think, at home. But here in Brazil, it's very common for Brazilian women to go to the nail salon. And then in the middle of all this, where you've got hairdressers, nail salons, you've got a store selling meat for barbecues. So you can buy lots of different cuts of beef here for your barbecue. And that's very strange to see a store like that in the middle of a shopping mall. But it's not just these services that you find in a shopping mall. In this shopping mall, there's also a hospital. So if you go up this escalator here, you've got Hospital Moinhos de Vento, And this is one of the big private hospitals in Porto Alegre. And the main hospital is in a different area of Porto Alegre. But here in the shopping mall, you can do private consultations, you can do exams, you can get vaccinated. And yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a hospital inside a shopping mall before. And then finally, another thing, you can buy an apartment in the shopping mall as well. So some of the big construction companies in Porto Alegre, so this one's called Cirella Goldstein. And they have these stands where they show the new apartment buildings that they're building, and it's usually an estate agent. You can see her here sitting down, and you can talk to them and basically buy an apartment if you want. So yeah, you can go to a Brazilian shopping mall, get your clothes adjusted, cut your hair, do your nails, go and get vaccinated, buy an apartment, and many other things. And you can definitely not do that in the Swedish shopping mall. And another thing I was shocked by were the restaurants at the shopping mall. So first of all, the fact that there are so many other restaurants. So usually the food courts in Swedish shopping malls are much smaller, with a lot fewer restaurants. And then the second thing that shocked me was the fact that you only have a handful of international restaurant chains. So you've got McDonald's, which is always busy, so it seems like Brazilians love McDonald's. Then you've got Burger King, which is never very busy. So for some reason Brazilians seem to like McDonald's a lot more than Burger King. And then you've got Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, again not very busy, but I think it launched quite recently, so maybe people aren't that familiar with it yet. Then you've got Subway, which is pretty popular. And then you've got Starbucks in many shopping malls, but I couldn't find one in this one. So I mean, you haven't got Wendy's, you haven't got Chick-fil-A, you haven't got Taco Bell here in the south. I know I saw Taco Bell in Sao Paulo, but here in the south you haven't got any Taco Bells. You haven't got Chipotle, Shake Shack, In-N-Out, Popeyes. So I couldn't find any of these big restaurant chains in the shopping malls here in the south of Brazil. But saying that, there are lots of Brazilian fast food and restaurant chains here in the food court. So you've got the Brazilian equivalent of McDonald's, and it's called Bob's. And the burgers are okay, but I'm not a big fan. But then you have another chain called Madero, so here the burgers are a bit more expensive, but they taste much better. And then you have a big chain of restaurants called Girafas, so you can eat burgers or a traditional Brazilian dish like rice, beans and a steak, and many other things. And then there are many other restaurants in this food court. You've got Chinese, Japanese, a traditional buffet restaurant, and then you have this other chain called Petisqueira, which just operates in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, here in the south of Brazil, and this is always super busy. So you can see here the queues to get a table at the restaurant. And I'll say this restaurant is a bit similar to Girafas, so you can buy, rice, beans and steak, you can buy burgers, you can buy pasta. And I really like the food here. It's usually a pretty reasonable price as well, so I usually spend about 50 reais on a meal at Petisqueira, which is $9, so it's pretty good. But then the shopping mall also has a separate restaurant area, and here the restaurants are more expensive. So here you've got the restaurant chain Coco Bamboo, and they're more expensive. So here you spend about 100 to 150 reais per person, so that's $20 to $30. So still pretty reasonable if you compare it to how much you spend on a meal in Europe or the US, but it is more expensive here in Brazil. And then you have another restaurant chain called Mamma Mia. So this is a galateria. So this serves roast chicken with lots of other side dishes, so polenta, pasta, salads. And again, this is pretty expensive. Usually I spend about 150 reais per person. So yeah, there's lots of restaurants in the shopping mall and you've got a lot of choice. And then another thing that shocked me was some of the stores in the shopping mall. So first of all, you got these two stores here, one called Inter and one called Grêmio. And you find these stores in every shopping mall. And these stores sell merchandise for the two big football teams in the state of Rio Grande do Sul. So one's called Internacional or Inter, and the other one's called Grêmio. So you can buy football shirts and merchandise for men, women, children, even babies. And it's very common for people to wear football shirts when they're out and about, and you can see one here. So this guy's wearing the blue and black striped football shirt, which is for Grêmio. And then another store you see in all shopping malls is Havaianas. So this is the famous Brazilian brand selling flip-flops, and it's super popular. I think every Brazil has at least, 3 or 4 pairs of Havaianas flip-flops. And you can see that it's always busy, it's always got customers. And also the shopping mall has lots of pharmacies and stores selling cosmetics. So you've got this one here, which is Panbel. Then you've got Droga Raia. And you've got Milinda, which sells lots of cosmetics and stuff. And you've got Natura and many other stores. So it's definitely no shortage of pharmacies and cosmetic stores, that's for sure. And then another store you see in all shopping malls is Ortobom. And this sells mattresses and beds. And you got them in all shopping malls, basically. And on the high street as well. I'm not sure how they make money with so many stores everywhere. I'm not sure if Brazilians buy a lot more mattresses and beds than Swedes do. But yeah, you definitely have a lot less bed and mattress stores in Sweden than you do here in Brazil. And then finally, a lot of the shopping malls have big bookstores, which Swedish shopping malls also can have. But the bookstores here in Brazil are a lot larger and a lot nicer as well. So it seems like they invest a lot of money in the decor, and they look really nice. Just look at the size of the store, and the shelves go all the way up to the ceiling. And you've got walkways up there on both sides as well. So I was really impressed by this bookstore. And then another thing I found unusual is the fact that dogs are allowed in the shopping mall. Now in Sweden, dogs are allowed in some shopping malls, especially the open-air shopping malls. But the indoor shopping malls, it's rare that dogs are allowed in there. But here in Brazil, it seems the opposite. I think most shopping malls allow dogs inside. So when you walk around, you're constantly seeing dogs. And this also, I think, links back to what I said earlier, that Brazilians like to go for a walk in the shopping malls, and so they bring their dogs. But I definitely can't bring my 2 dogs. They're way too wild to be walking around in a shopping mall with lots of people. And another thing I wasn't expecting was the number of designer brand stores that were in this shopping mall. So you've got Calvin Klein, you've got Chanel, you've got Armani, Lacoste, you've got Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, and some other brands as well. And the clothes aren't cheap, so if we just look at Calvin Klein here, for example, so this white shirt here on the mannequin is 499 reais, which is $90. If you go to Dolce & Gabbana or Chanel, it's even more money. So yeah, I wasn't expecting these brands to have stores in the shopping mall, but it goes to show that you have lots of wealthy people as well here in Brazil. And then another thing which probably shocked me the most was the fact that there is another large shopping mall right next to this big Iguatemi shopping mall. So the other shopping mall is called Bourbon Shopping, and it's practically on the other side of the street, so you can walk to it in like 2 minutes. And it's also very big, not as big as Iguatemi, and a lot of the stores are the same that you've got in Iguatemi Shopping. So you've got the pharmacy there, and it's got the Grêmio and Inter stores as well, selling the football shirts and other merchandise. It's got an Autobomb store selling the mattresses and beds again. And it's got a really big bookstore as well, same as Iguatemi. But I think the company running this is different though. And then lots of cafes as well. And if you go to food court, you've got McDonald's again. But you can see this is much smaller, the food court, compared to Iguatemi. And also what's different with this shopping mall is that you've got a big supermarket called Bourbon. Well, Iguatemi doesn't have a supermarket. And also what's different with this shopping mall is this has a big arcade area as well. And then a cinema, which Iguatemi also has. I forgot to film that. And you can do some axe throwing as well. And they've also got a bowling area as well. So this shopping mall has invested a bit more in this type of experience compared to Iguatemi. So the offering from the 2 shopping malls are a bit different. But still, it's crazy to have 2 big shopping malls right next to each other. It just shows how popular shopping malls are here in Brazil. Okay, so I hope you liked this video. I just wanted to point out the differences that I noticed when I arrived here in Brazil and went to the shopping malls. And I'd say that I've become a bit more Brazilian in that I've started going to shopping malls more often now. And sometimes I even go there without needing to buy anything. So yeah, I would definitely say that shopping malls are better here in Brazil. So if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe. If you've got any comments, leave in the comments section below. So thanks for watching, until next time.